Yes, it's just come to light that the UN has a strict policy on not hiring hopeless dipsticks. That we've just found that out. It will start foggy in places in the southwest tomorrow, so drivers are asked to speed up and tailgate the car in front. Flash your headlights and mount the curb to get by if the car in front is doing less than 50 in a 20 zone. Of course, if you are in a hatchback, you will already be doing this.
Thank you.
By midday, it's going to be fine and dandy, for many but strong winds and rain may affect Western Scotland. May affect? My money's on Western Scotland being affected. I'll check while you wait. Wow, look at that. Sunny for 2 weeks in a row. 75 degrees. 76, 79 on Thursday. Oh, no, that's Marbella. Glasgow. Ha. Wow. Raining tonight. A lot. And raining on Sunday, and raining on Monday, and raining on Tuesday, and raining on Wednesday, and raining... Oh, no, wait. Not raining on Thursday or Friday. Rubbish. And then raining on Saturday, and raining on Sunday, and raining on Monday the 25th, and raining on Tuesday, and raining on Wednesday, and raining on Thursday, and raining on Friday, and raining every day for the rest of your lives. Oh, well, never mind. Rain for pretty much everywhere else on Monday and Tuesday. Windier, but warmer. Would you like to hear the long-range weather forecast?
No.
So for the next 2 weeks, which will take us until the end of the month. Oh, blimey, it's practically November, which means it's nearly December. Just 9 fruitless shopping weeks to go. 9 weeks of staring at empty shelves and getting up the nerve to break it to the kids that Santa has been sent back to China because the EU lorry drivers have all gone home. So to the end of the month, starting off showery and windy, and then a mixture of sunny spells and blustery showers, temperatures falling to below average for most, increasing the likelihood of snow.
What?
Snow. You believe that? Snow. Snow that is over high ground in the north. So don't panic. At least don't panic about the snow. There's plenty else to panic about. Into next weekend, more settled, some dry weather, which should turn cloudy and rainy and windy.
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah, all of that lot. And it's going to be like that until the end of October. Temperatures most likely to be trending up. And then the first half of November, last chance of some nice before we get pushed indoors for 5 months. So good luck, everybody. At first remaining unsettled and windy, with the wettest and the windiest conditions in the north and the west, just as you would expect. But what you might not expect is that from early to mid-November, there's an increasing chance of settled weather, with temperatures likely to be warmer than average. An increased chance of settled weather with temperatures likely to be warmer than average? We'll take it! In other meteorological news, well-known weather expert Kwesi Kwarteng was accused of crossing his fingers for the energy crisis to ease after he sent a weather prediction to panicking companies. Companies said... Kwesi Kwarteng, who is Bodger Johnson's business secretary, is said to have shared a private Met Office briefing suggesting that there is likely to be a mild winter. You know, I'm sorry, these people can't predict what's happening to the weather outside their own window at this minute. How can they possibly say with any accuracy what's going to happen over the next 4 months? The Met Office's own website puts all sorts of warnings about their forecasts for the next 2 weeks being unreliable. They say,
Warning, warning!
Confidence is low. The Tories should actually have that as their party slogan. Confidence is low. Bodge.
I can't comment on that.
Apparently rising wholesale energy prices have seen dozens of small energy suppliers collapse in the UK since September. Mine went bust yesterday. Does that mean I won't have to pay?
No.
Bet your life it doesn't. We've had the increase in the price cap announced at the beginning of this month on track to be followed by another huge increase in April. And ministers have insisted that they're doing everything possible to ease the strain. And to be fair, Bodger has been at school for a long photo opportunity, so there's that. Thanks, Bodge. Great to know that you're doing your best. The government is promising that the lights will not go out and the gas will continue to run, but as they oversaw the closure of the UK's biggest gas storage facility and didn't bother to build another one because they didn't think we needed one, we have about 5 days' supply in reserve. Europe, meanwhile, has enough gas stored to cover all of its winter needs. Think about that for a couple of minutes. In fact, we have the lowest level of stored gas in Europe. And because we insisted on a hard Brexit, we can't access Europe's gas reserves. So that's why the government is pinning their hopes on a warm winter, because crossing their fingers and hoping for the best is in fact government policy now.
Fabulous.
And if we get a cold winter, or let's face it, an ordinary winter, then the 80% of us that heat our homes with gas had better hope that we don't run out, because we've got less than a week's supply in reserve. The EU, meanwhile, is working on a strategic gas reserve for the whole of Europe, to help each other out. But we didn't want to have any of that filthy European gas, so we might freeze to death, but at least we will have taken back control. The EU has capacity to store a fifth of its annual consumption, about 10 weeks' worth. We've got the ability to store 5 days' worth. But I expect it's all Jeremy Corbyn's fault.
No!
According to the Financial Times, Kwesi Kwarteng, Bodger Johnson's business secretary, shared a Met Office briefing with energy suppliers, which said that the most likely scenario is that this winter will be wet and mild. They say this kind of thing every year, don't they? And they always get it right. I mean wrong. They always say this kind of, oh, well, there's going to be snow at Christmas, don't you worry about that, you can bet your life on it. And there never is. Oh, it's going to be a very, very warm January, and it never is. Whatever they say it's going to be, just think the opposite and you'll probably be right. They said for late winter, from January to February, the most likely scenario is for an unsettled period of wet, windy and mild spells. But cold spells are still possible. So it's going to be dry, wet, windy, calm, warm and cold. Excellent forecast.
Thank you.
The Met Office actually admitted that the whole area of long-range forecasting is pretty experimental as far as any meteorological organisation is concerned. That's what they said. But that's what the government is now using as a way to assure us that everything is going to be all right. Shadow Business Secretary Ed Miliband said this is a new low for government energy policy. Reduced to crossing his fingers for a mild winter, Kwesi Kwarteng is showing just how much a decade of inaction from government has left us vulnerable. And I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I agree with Ed Miliband.
What?
But nobody else does. Bodger Johnson arrived back in the UK after his jolly holidays and found that his poll lead over Keir Starmer has gone up. It's stretched to 10 points now, despite everything. Mounting chaos in supply chains, surging inflation. After everything that's going on, his poll lead has gone up against Sir Keir. I think it's the Sir part what's dragging him down, don't you? That and the personality, or lack of it. This country is in an abusive relationship. The more he hurts us and lies to us and sees other countries behind our back, the more we love him. Thank you, sir. May we have another? The PM spent the week on holiday in Spain, an offshore-owned billionaire's lair, who he just happened to have elevated to the House of Lords. Just a coincidence. Nothing to see here. The Mail says sources close to the Premier said the family flew on commercial flights with other ordinary passengers on both the outbound and return journeys. Oh, please. He stayed at a place that goes for 25 grand a week, and he flew back on the same plane as a few ordinary folk. So now he's a man of the people. Do me a favour. His return comes as the country is racked by soaring energy bills and the risk of spiking inflation that will force the Bank of England to hike interest rates sooner than planned. You know, there's an entire generation of people who have got no idea what that means. High interest rates. What's that then? You'll find out. According to the latest YouGov poll, however, the turbulence is not denting the Tories' standing with the voters. The party's support has gone up 2 points in a week. 41% they're on now. Oh, my God. Labour has stalled at 31, with Sir Keir facing increasing frustration in his own ranks about why his party aren't making inroads. Why aren't his party making inroads? I mean, really. Johnson also maintained his advantage as best Prime Minister. 31% of people who expressed a preference said that Boris Johnson would be the best Prime Minister. 25% said Sir Keir. So, to be fair, if 31% opted for Bodge, then that sounds like 69% who said no. And furthermore...
No.
30, but still the best PM, given a list of possibilities. Seriously, what does this man have to do before those cult fans of his get that they're being taken for a ride? What level of punishment, mendacity, falsehoods and deviousness will they not put up with? At what point do his fans say, OK, enough with the phony Just William act, we see you? Apparently there is no limit to the amount of suffering that members of his cult will stand, as long as they get the feeling that they have somehow won because the other side are suffering too. It's like they're on a suicide mission and will celebrate their coming demise because the other lot will be taken out too. Oh my God, we're being led by Bodger Johnson's kamikaze cult. Petrol stations in some parts of the country, I passed some coming here myself, still short of at least one type of fuel. There's only two. There's delays stacking up at ports. Ships are being turned away because we don't have the drivers to unload them. Farmers are burning their livestock because the butchers, abattoir and farm workers have gone back to where they came from after we yelled at them to go back to where they came from. There's shops that are filling empty vegetable shelves with chocolates and Lynx aftershaves so they don't seem so empty. Half the country have said they can't get essential food that they've gone out to buy. And the government's response to all this is to pretend it's got nothing to do with Brexit and to say it's not their job to fix these problems. Well, here's a genuine puzzler. What exactly is their job, as they see it? I mean, if they think that fixing the problems that they caused is not their business, just what do they think that government is for? Apart from making vast sums of money for their friends and donors, eh, Bodge?
I can't comment on that.
And Fishy Sunak is the latest one to shrug and say it's got nothing to do with me, Squire. After ministers were saying that Christmas is going to be great, nothing to worry about, now they're all saying, well, we might have to do with less.
What?
Less. Christmas isn't about less. It's about more. We've even got the apologists from the right-wing press penning articles about how we can do without and reclaim the true meaning of Christmas. Well, here's the news. Christmas isn't about Jesus any more than Sunday is the Lord's Day. Sunday's for going to the garden centre and watching the Antiques Roadshow, and Christmas is about buying stuff you don't need with money you haven't got, stuffing yourself stupid with all that food that you wouldn't ordinarily touch, and passing out in front of the sound of music. Not that music. So Grinchy Sunak said the government can't fix every single problem, but said ministers were doing absolutely everything we can to solve issues at British ports and in shops ahead of the festive period. OK, two things. First off, if they can't fix every single problem, could the government fix any single problem?
No.
And second, ministers were doing absolutely everything they can to solve issues at British ports and in shops ahead of the festive period by ramping up a trade war with the EU and deflecting our attention by pretending to get tough on foreigners. I mean, their answer to everything seems to be to shrug their shoulders and say that business should just simply throw money they haven't got at workers who aren't there. I mean, the government of this country seems to have completely lost its mind. Or they're so inept and hopeless that they think that by picking fights with France, they'll keep their fans happy no matter what happens to them. And you know what? They are. And depressingly, completely correct in every respect. What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
Meanwhile, 60% of Brits say they have been unable to do a routine shop over the past week. 41% report failing to secure normal products. This is a poll for Mail Online. Fuel was the most common problem. 42% said they couldn't purchase any. 30% said they were thwarted from buying meat. 30% complained about a lack of fruit or vegetables. A quarter couldn't get any dairy products. 40% couldn't get other household items. And 14% that said finding medicine had been difficult. They can't get their pills.
Want to score some pot?
And Bodger Johnson's ratings are through the roof.
Well, the whole world's gone crazy.
Well, not the whole world. Rodney tweets, Nick, I've got a lot of problems. Can you suggest somewhere I can get help? No, Rodney, but thanks for asking. Andrew texts, you hum a better girl from Ipanema than you do a Carmen. I wasn't aware I'd ever hummed Carmen. And Jesus tweets. He said, the whole world's gone quasi. With a K. Correctamundo. Yorkshire. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Nick. You do hum a good girl from Ipanema, I must admit.
It's the only tune I know.
Yeah, a couple of little bits. IKEA at Milton Keynes, shelves are half empty. They say they can't get supplies in.
Now, well, hang on a minute. Are these shelves on which they stack shelves?
Absolutely. Yes, the shelves on which the various bits and bobs are. Yeah, they can't get supplies in.
No, you don't understand what I'm saying. See, in IKEA you can buy shelves. Are you saying that the shelves that ordinarily are full of shelves are empty?
Absolutely. The little shelving units sat on their permanent shelves are missing.
Oh, my God. IKEA has run out of shelves.
What?
Next bit. Last week's mantra that we picked up on was high skills, high wages. Well, this week's mantra has been, it's not just us that's suffering haulage and transport problems. The entire world is, America is, J7 is, Europe is.
Sure,
well, little question on that. Grant Shapps was on Nick the other morning, and he said, all this fuss because a boat has been diverted from Felixstowe. Well, that's completely misleading because there were 4 boats over the previous 10 days were diverted from Felixstowe, so that's a good mislead to start with. But they were sent to the continent to unload British containers onto the continent because they do have capacity. So we put on little boats to come back to us.
Right.
Europe isn't as bad as us because we can't take them, but they can not only take their own but take ours as well.
Yeah, as far as
back to us.
Correct. As far as I'm aware, there are no empty shelves in any European countries. They do have a shortage of drivers, but because the drivers can drive anywhere they blooming well like within Europe, then that's not a problem, and they're not burning their livestock. That's us. That is.
Absolutely. Now a question for you. Northern Ireland's doing better than the rest of the UK. And the EU made us a great offer on Tuesday, which the government have made no comment on yet, which would make Northern Ireland even better than we're doing.
Make Northern Ireland even better. Make Northern Ireland even better than it is already. Can you imagine such a thing?
Now, how the hell is Boris going to explain the fact that Northern Ireland's doing better? There must be something different about Northern Ireland to us, that perhaps they're in the customs union or the single market.
See, the government is beginning to freak out because Northern Ireland aren't suffering any of the problems that we're suffering on the mainland because they can trade quite freely with the EU across the Irish border, and they're concerned that that Northern Ireland is going to show up the rest of the country and make it impossible to try to avoid the conclusion that it's Brexit what done it. So they're really going to make a massive effort to screw that up.
And some interviewer asked some guy in Northern Ireland, did you have a CO2 problem? And he said, no, we just ordered it from Dublin.
Yeah.
Whereas we've had to fire up an American company to make fertiliser they don't need to make, so CO2 as a byproduct keeps us going.
Yeah, millions and millions of pounds. But, it's only money and we got loads of it. Yeah, but we better not run out of beer.
Booze.
Correct. All right, thanks a lot, Mike. Keep your eyes peeled. You don't have to pay too much close attention. The disasters are coming thick and fast. Mostly, I'd have to say thick.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Robert says, the in versus on an island question, to me, this is like weeks ago I was talking about this. Says, to me, it seems like it has nothing to do with size. I think it's landmass versus jurisdiction. You're on an island or continent, but in a country, state or town. Yeah, but you're... Okay, on an island. But but suppose an island is a country. Jack tweets, energy crisis, if only we knew an expert in wind energy. You're just trying to play me like a marionette.
I know a lot about wind.
John email, I wonder when he'll be back in our lives. We've sort of missed him a little bit. Well, not too much.
Oh, shut up!
But he's like the shark that's swum out to sea. He hasn't gone yet. We're going to need a bigger boat. John emails, Nick, will Chris Rea be releasing his song Walking Home for Christmas? Walking Home for Christmas this year. Chris Rea. Get Chris Rea on the phone. He's going to have to re-record that song. He's not picking up? Keep trying. Kath texts, does that mean that Labour need Keir Starmer to go on holiday? It might be a good idea, yeah. Just leave us for a little while, Keir, and we might pine for you, but I doubt it. Plus, how's your tooth? Well, it's just started to hurt. Thanks for asking. I had root canal treatment, which I thought was going to be the most painful thing that anybody had ever. I went in there. I said, just take it out, just rip it out, because I had another tooth taken out, and it was really quite surprising. He said, right, there it is, and I didn't think he'd started yet, but he'd already yanked it out my face. And so this one, I went in and said, just take it out, just take it out. I've already spent £1,000 on getting a cap put on it, and it still hurt. And so there was, of course, another fee for having root canal treatment, and there's no guarantee that might work, so we might have to pull it out anyway. 1,500 quid for a tooth.
What?
I could sell you my car 10 times over, literally 10 times over for that. I checked on one of those sites. I probably mentioned this a while ago. Just put in your registration number, and we'll tell you how much your car is worth. And the bad news came back, £150.
What?
Which is a tenth of the price so far of just keeping this tooth in my head. Well, I think it's got a hole in the middle of it, and it's starting to ache. But you know me, I never complain.
Stop whining.
This says, Nick, because we are British, we, as a block of 68 million, are going to be able to defy economies of scale bargaining power and be able to negotiate better gas prices than the European block of 445 million. Yes, that's right, anonymous person. And that is because we hold all of the cards. Unfortunately, you can't buy electricity with cards. In another Brexit bonus, ministers announced that they would tear up rules limiting the number of deliveries that EU drivers can make in Britain each week, after the offer of a visa extension led to just 20 being issued to foreigners. It's amazing. The arrogance is just staggering. We thought we could just throw these demands that those foreigners that we've been screaming at for 5 years to get out of our country. As soon as we said, we were kidding, you can come back and help us out now, but for a limited time before we scream at you to get out again. We thought that they would fall on them, desperate to ingratiate themselves into our good books. It turns out that they have memories. You believe that? The only reason those EU drivers have failed in their patriotic duty to come and help us out is because they know that we hold all the cards and that we need them. Wait, which way around is it? Oh, I screwed that up. Anyway, it's just the EU being mean to us. I mean, why won't they come back and help us out? It's not like we were shouting at them to go back to where they came from for 5 years. And if we did, so what? They are just jealous of the great success that we are making out of Brexit. Truly, we are the envy of the world. Or the laughing stock of the world, one or the other, I forget which. Apparently, truckers from Europe can only do 2 deliveries per week in Britain. Them's the rules. But the government revealed that the cap is going to be axed so that they can make unlimited stops by the end of the year, because the UK is crippled by driver shortages. Or to put it another way, drivers who we hounded out because we don't like foreigners can come back and save us from our own stupidity as a special favour to them. But don't get comfortable, you foreign drivers, because we will be yelling at you to go home just as soon as you've saved our Christmas. Environment Secretary George Useless said that the changes will bring significant additional capacity in the festive period. And before he became a career politician 22 years ago, he used to work on his parents' fruit farm, so he's an expert on road haulage. Mr. Useless said that the changes would help Britain's HGV fleet because some of those EU fleets will be able to do more jobs. It's a Brexit triumph that we are now so desperate for EU drivers to deliver our stuff that the government is opening the door to them and begging them to help. And those drivers are saying, as with one voice, Nein, nay, non. But don't say non, say non merci. I mean, good manners don't cost nothing, do they?
Be polite.
The Mail says that the changes are going to come into force towards the end of this year for up to 6 months, meaning that the extra capacity will be used to keep supermarkets and shops stocked close to Christmas. But as my calendar says, Christmas comes before the end of the year. So that might be wishful thinking. Or it might be because this government, which seems to be surprised by absolutely everything that comes their way, maybe they just haven't checked their diaries as to when Christmas is this year. You imagine the looks on their faces when they realise that you can't save Christmas by starting work on it in January. Or December, for that matter. I mean, shops start ramping up for Christmas last month, not next month. Still, I'm sure the government know what they're doing. And, of course, the UK's haulage sector is delighted. I'm kidding, they're furious. UK truckers are not happy about the plans. They urged ministers instead to clear the backlog of 56,000 HGV licence applications at the DVLA. You know, this is an indication of how well this country is being run. We careen from one disaster to the next while Bodger's off raiding the dressing-up box for another of his hilarious photo opportunities of him wearing a lab coat and goggles, or him wearing the luminous overalls of a Tory donors company, or him in a hard hat with a Tory donors company logo on it, or him appearing at the factory of a Tory donor, or in a switch in a school, sitting on a toddler's plastic chair and trying to get laughs from 8-year-olds, and pretending to do gardening. He really is funny, no?
No.
Meanwhile, in the real world, the Road Haulage Association said many British hauliers will be frustrated with the likelihood that their work could be going to EU firms at a time when promoting the job to a new generation of Britons who was apparently the government's priority. And they don't want uncontrolled immigration, which this is, at least for 6 months. Although it may help the Christmas supply chain, the effect on hard-working UK haulage firms could be substantial in terms of losing work to cheaper EU rivals, they said. But you know what? That's just Mona talk. We left the EU to get the foreigners out, and now we're trying to get the foreigners to work here just as they did when we were in the EU. So what's hard to understand about that? Transport Secretary Grant Shapps admitted a short-term fix was needed to a long-term problem where more British lorry drivers would be needed. Well, transport expert Grant Shapps, riddle me this. What happens when British people stick by their decision that they don't want to be lorry drivers? What then? Same as the farm labourers and the butchers and the abattoir workers. What happens when British workers don't magically transform to be the people to fill the vacancies in those sectors? I mean, we've all decided we don't want those jobs. That's why they were done by EU workers. So the government's saying that they will allow for easier testing for lorry drivers, or telling hard-up firms to magic pay rises out of the air. What if we make it easy to get those jobs and we still don't want to do them? What then? All this guff about us becoming a high-skill, high-wage economy is just such fairy story nonsense. I mean, how are we going to teach somebody who's been working as a cleaner, for instance, how to become a high-skilled person in a high-paying job? I mean, what's the process of retraining? And how many people are going to be capable of going from a low-skilled job to high-skilled work? And don't you think that people who are capable of high-skilled work are going to be doing that already? And just assume that we will all become financial traders or architects or surgeons or structural engineers and we're all earning massive amounts. Who's going to do all the low-skill, low-paid jobs then? I mean, a brain surgeon's going to get a second job as overnight security? Are industrial designers going to double as office cleaners? I mean, who actually believes any of this stuff? And as for Christmas, which seems to be taking up all the newspaper column inches, that's not about how awful Cruella de Markle has stolen our Harry, well, Christmas is on. Because no less a personage than transport expert Grant Shapps has insisted that Christmas would go ahead. He said, with Christmas last year, we were worried about being able to see loved ones and families. He said there'll be no issues with that this year. We'll make sure the supply chain is doing what it should be doing, which is what these measures we are taking are designed to do. Christmas will go ahead, he said. We'll be able to see our families and our friends. There will be food. There will be gifts. Grant Shapps saves Christmas. But there's a cloud on the horizon. Actually, there's a hurricane, a tornado and a lightning storm on the horizon because union bosses are threatening to coordinate lorry strikes over pay and conditions for drivers, and were accused of plotting to hold Christmas hostage. No Christmas. What has Christmas ever done to them? The Union Unite's going to ballot thousands of supermarket and delivery drivers over a mass walkout the coming days. The largest strike threat of its kind since the Winter of Discontent more than 40 years ago. You remember that? And what are they asking for? Solid gold gear knobs and cashmere seat covers, I expect. Their representatives are demanding commitments from ministers to provide clean toilets and catering facilities at truck stops, which is completely unreasonable. I mean, apart from all of the countries in Europe where they have had those kind of things for ages, where on earth can lorry drivers expect clean toilets and catering facilities at truck stops? You know, apart from France and Spain and Germany and Belgium and Italy and all the rest of those countries whose names I've forgotten and I'll certainly look up later. And they want pay rises for veteran drivers, after new starters were offered salaries of up to $50,000 to get behind the wheel. And that up to part of that sentence, very important. I mean, you ask a driver if they've been offered that kind of money and they'll have no idea what you're talking about. Certainly does get written up in the press a lot, though. A Department of Transport spokesmodel told The Telegraph it would be reckless for unions to hold the Christmas hostage and demand the work being done to restore supply chains at this vital time of year. Which, translated, is how dare these people do something that will stop the Daily Mail running the headline, Boris saves Christmas. That's what they're working for. It will be coming to a newsstand near you soon. In massive letters, Boris saves Christmas. Pah! I mean, they've got the front page all worked out. They've got it worked up, ready to go. Boris saves Christmas. Full cut out and keep special souvenir issue. Make your own Boris Santa outfit and delight the kids this Christmas morning. That sort of thing. A Department of Transport spokesman said, we have already taken immediate action to increase the supply of HGV drivers and streamline the testing process and improve working conditions. Yeah, they've begged foreign drivers to come back and the foreign drivers said no. That's the immediate action they've taken. And they've made it easier to pass the driving test. But, you know, the government's own licensing department isn't working very well. What a complete surprise. Meanwhile, in the shops, everything is going very well. Some supermarkets are filling gaps on shelves with items to make the stores look less bare. Shops have been caught piling salad cream, HP sauce and cooking oil into chiller cabinets. Just to take up space. Make it look less, empty. Chocolate boxes have been put into fruit and vegetable racks to cover up the fact that they ain't got no fruit or vegetables. Which is excellent news, by the way, because now a tin of Quality Street counts as one of your 5 a day. A Tesco Extra in Cardiff put a huge display of sunflower oil at the end of a frozen food aisle. A Co-op placed salad cream and HP sauce in chillers. A Tesco in Pontypridd put a wall of tomatoes in place of the usual salad items. A Co-op store in Hertfordshire filled fruit and vegetable sections with Quality Street. And a Gloucester Asda filled empty shelves with Lynx Africa deodorant. You don't drink it, you splash it all over. Elsewhere, Fishy Sunak could only offer limited assurance that there would be presents under the tree this Christmas, which seems like he didn't get the memo. Christmas is saved, Fishy. Transport expert Grant Shapp said so. And the good citizens of this great nation are so comforted by that promise that panic buying of toys and other products has already begun. Barbie and Lego are selling at Christmas-level quantities. And there's been a surge in sales of frozen turkeys. And 75% more Christmas puddings have been purchased than usual at this time of year. People are freaking out. Meanwhile, the British Retail Consortium warned that 3 in 5 retailers are going to be pushing up prices in the coming weeks. Its Director of Food and Sustainability, Andrew Opie, said, "There are clear signs that the cost pressures from rising transport costs, higher energy and commodity prices and ongoing labour shortages, all of which are starting to filter through to consumer prices." He said the only way to stem increases is for government to change visa rules to allow in more foreign workers who are needed to fill vacancies across the economy.
What?
Yeah. And the government is telling us it's all ahead, full power, while reversing out of the hole it's made. Ministers have made small changes to visa rules to allow 5,500 HGV drivers, 5,000 workers in poultry processing, and 800 butchers to handle pigs and pork. But farmers and the rest of the food industry say this isn't going to make a significant difference. Major food firms said that prices of everything from chicken to baked beans are going to have to go up as we move to a higher price economy. You remember when, what's-his-name said that everything's going to be cheaper, that food was going to be cheaper and clothes were going to be cheaper? You remember that? That's what he said?
You're better informed than I am. I don't know anything.
Yeah, well, that certainly is true. I don't know anything. And against all that, there's a risk of a rise in interest rates, which is going to hit borrowers and those with variable rate mortgages. And thousands of containers are sitting at Felixstowe and other ports because there aren't enough drivers to collect them. And the firms who own those shipments are being hit with penalty fees by the ports. And it's all going about as well as you'd expect from a country that's run by a clown. But Bodger's back from his holiday in his billionaire's villa, and there's pictures of him larking about with some school kids, so everything is fine. Nothing to see here. He's doing his best. What a way to run a country, eh? Let's have a call in Belfast. Hello, Brendan.
Hello. Thank you for taking my call. I'm from RRR. And I would just like to say that I wish you would. I've said this before, that not that you would remember, but you keep referring to Ireland as an offshore island of England. We're not.
England?
You are not.
England?
Yeah.
Britain? Britain, surely?
No. Great Britain and Northern Ireland. We are not a part of Britain. So what I'm saying is, please, it's more than semantics. It's a matter of identity. You are not our mainland, and you keep referring to Ireland as an offshore island of your mainland. We're not. We are a bona fide island surrounded by water on all sides, right. And we're a country. So, having said,
you're not a country, surely.
I'm not sure what you mean.
Well, I know that you're not allowed to have a border, but there is a sort of a border.
Well, here's the thing. We don't have any problem with supermarket shelves. We don't have any problem with petrol. Mm-hmm. We don't have any problems with any of that supply, except for the sausage war. I don't know if you're aware of that or not.
Yeah.
But the sausage war was sorted out the other day there. We have a thing called the protocol, and that means that in Northern Ireland, we overwhelmingly voted to remain in Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the European Union have gave us special status, and we're allowed to remain Europeans, even though you're not. Ha ha. And we have no such problems. And the reason we don't have that problem is because Ireland is a country of its own identity, language, culture, music. And it's really, I don't want to say insulting, but I am going to say insulting, that you keep referring to us as some offshore. We have 37 islands that are offshore islands of Ireland.
37?
We are not. Yeah, 37. Yeah,
that seems too many. I mean, why do you need 37? That's just greedy.
Well, we'll do a lot of smuggling. So
smuggling, right? Okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Plus, we have a land border with the EU.
Okay. See, that's the reason why people in Northern Ireland, they have full shelves and they haven't had petrol problems and none of the issues that people on a mainland close to you have been experiencing. And that's freaking the government out because it just puts a spotlight on the fact that the problems that we are suffering is because of the B word.
Exactly. Exactamo. Whereas they couldn't do that, and the European Union said, okay, in Northern Ireland, you are still entitled to be a European. You will have access to both the European market and the GB, those used people over there, used foreigners. So we'll have access to both foreign markets, the English and market and the European market, except for sausages, but that has, as I say, that has been resolved.
Yeah, I believe that Europe actually does sausages as well, but you don't have to have English bangers. You can get French saucisson.
Well, Ireland is, I would say, I'm not sure, but off the top of my head, our biggest industry is agriculture. You know, we are a farming country, so we do have our own sausages, our own bacon, and,
Yeah, you don't need ours. I mean, it's like big deal you don't get British sausages. Who cares?
No, nobody cares. But it was made an issue by, Brexiteers.
Yeah.
It was made, they can't get sausages. And then they talk about...
you're like going to be waking up crying because you can't have an English banger.
Yeah. And their English bangers aren't really sausages anyway.
Well, now, wait a minute. I take objection to that.
Do you know why they're called bangers?
Because if you don't skewer them with a fork before you cook them, they pop. Is that right?
No.
I've got that wrong. I've got that wrong.
Yeah. No. The reason they're called bangers is because it would be against the Trade Descriptions Act to call them a sausage because there's not enough meat in them.
Oh, please. Well, you're buying if that is correct, then you're not buying the right sausages. You want to change your supplier immediately. Can I interest you in some hot furter action?
Well, no, not really. That's a boiled jobbies, rather. I couldn't eat those.
Frankfurters.
Oh, no way.
Like a big pile of pickled cabbage with some frankfurters in them.
No, it's not true. There are no English sausages. Now, I dare say your local butcher would put less. What is it? The straw and the wheaten and the duperdangle. And yeah.
I love the taste of straw in the morning. Tastes like victory.
It's all grizzle. So they're not allowed to call them sausages. So what they do is they go, it's bangers and mash, a great British tradition. Yeah. But that's just to hide the fact that there's no meat in them.
It's all straw. I didn't know that. This is an educational show, isn't it?
No.
Listen, could I ask you one favour? And I remember it was a lady who rang you one time, and she was a telephonist working for the post office. Remember back in the day when we had the post office ran all the telephone companies and everything? That's all there was.
Yeah.
And she had a wonderful voice for it. So, and you asked her, if you could use her voice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember.
As one of your buttons.
Yes.
And I was wondering, would there be any possibility, and I know it's a bit... would there be any possibility of me being the RRR? That you don't that you don't demean yourself.
To. All right. Okay, well, give us your best RRR.
Right. RRR.
That'll do. Yeah, I might cart that up and use it later.
Yes, because if you use it, you see, you're insulting the Irish people. Whereas if I use it, I'm not.
It's perfectly okay if you do it.
So that's letting you off the hook.
Right. Okay, good work. Thanks a lot, Brendan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Higgs tweets, it's not the quantity of gas that matters, it's the quality. And we have the best, we have British gas, which is better than the French have, better than the Germans have, and better than any other country has, because we are the best country in the world, so there. And Boris is doing his best.
I just reckon we've got the very best people in this country, much better than the French have, much better than the Belgians have, much better than the Americans have. That doesn't surprise me at all, because we're a much better country than every single one of them.
Every single one of them. We certainly do miss him, no?
No.
It's one of the rainbow of talents that's gone through that cabinet. Truly, they are the best of us. It's amazing this country hasn't burst into flames and flipped upside down and sunk. James tweets, I understand that Sir Keir referred to himself as Special K during the week. I hope not. Did he actually do that? I bet my glamorous assistant knows. Did that actually happen, or is that a joke?
No, I'm fairly sure he said that.
Oh, my God, no! And furthermore...
No.
Special K? Oh, no. You just sunk yourself, Sir Keir. I mean, the Sir part was bad enough. Now you're giving yourself your own nickname? Special K. I mean, was he starting a hippity-hip-hop band? Hey, I'm Special K. Yo, 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 yo. OK, here's the news. Labour leader Sir Keir revealed that his nickname of Special K as a visit to a Kellogg's factory. You're not Boris Johnson. What are you doing visiting a Kellogg's factory? I mean, is that usurping Bodger's next move? He's going to dress himself up in a Kellogg's branded jumpsuit and go and finger some cereal. Paw! Sir Keir toured the cereal factory in Trafford Park, Greater Manchester, on Friday morning and met business leaders, apprentices and trade union representatives to discuss problems with distribution, shortages and supply chains. He told reporters he shared the name with one of the manufacturer's well-known brands, saying, I've been dubbed Special K since I was born. K for Keir. Or he explained it. He explained the joke. Oh, my God, it's worse than I thought. Phil tweets, did you see the story that rail freight operators have stopped using electric locomotives on their freight services? Apparently electric cost too much to run electric locomotives on freight services. It wasn't this bad during the 3-day week in the 1970s. Well, what do they run on? How can you run an electric locomotive without electric? Well, everybody got to get out and push. Let's have a call in Teignmouth. David.
Which one?
Yeah, it sounds like you.
Teignmouth. Yeah. I'm just about to go to sleep. I've been waiting for so long.
What do you mean, which one?
The steam train. No, what I rang about, and this is about 20 minutes ago, was the direct link between low skill and low pay. Now, there was a time in my lifetime when the skill was fairly basic, but the people that were doing these jobs had the ability to repeat them and quickly and accurately and repetitively, and it was called piecework. auntie that worked on the belts at Cadbury's in Birmingham, and she earned good money because she was totally reliable.
Right, like a robot.
Affirmative.
Yes.
Well, yes, it may be, but it does allow for employment for people without the high skills, because you were saying earlier that there are the people that don't have the ability to do the high skills. Right. And what do? Yeah. They do what the robot is doing, but probably more accurately. They had a program
no. They can't do it more accurately than a robot.
Negative.
Oh, yes, they can.
They can't. Oh, no, they can't.
There was on the country farm program the other evening, they had competing between a robot picking strawberries and a couple of Europeans.
Well, you didn't say picking strawberries. Picking strawberries is a very it's like you have to be very careful. Human beings pick strawberries. Robots don't pick strawberries.
Yes, they are. That's what the whole point. They are making a machine that will pick them, but they still haven't got it right. No, it was on the program. I don't,
Yeah, but that's not what you said. You said she was on a factory line doing screwing in a widget.
I'm talking about the in the 40s and 50s, but today even there are jobs which require not high skills, but reliability and repetitiveness.
Yeah, but nobody wants to do those jobs. Nobody wants to do those. No, they don't. Too boring. Boring. Snoring. Very, very dull. Doing the same thing all day long on a factory line, screwing a widget, one turn to the left. So dull.
I realise you're in total love with your own voice, but if listen to somebody else for a change.
Yeah.
My job, before I retired, I was head of a catering college in Plymouth, and the most important people we had working in that place were not the lecturers, but the ladies who did the cleaning, and they took huge pride in doing that job properly.
That's not a boring and repetitive task. That's cleaning.
Yes.
You clean this corner and then that corner and then the middle bit and up and down.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, what's that got to do with anything?
But it doesn't require high skills. Right. It requires a basic skill.
Well, I'm not the one who's saying that we must move to a high-skill, high-wage economy and pretending that no jobs would be available for those who are low-skilled.
Yes, they are. This is what these people, the women that did the cleaning, were low-skilled.
David, I know that you're in love with the sound of your own voice, but you're not listening to what I'm saying. If you just stop talking for a moment...
You had 20 minutes just gabbling onto yourself. It's absolutely because we're never going to agree who speaks the most.
Right.
You've got in love with your own voice.
Right. Please, David, tell me again how long you've been waiting.
Stop whining.
Oh my God! And I've been sitting on the phone here for 20 minutes,
whinging and whining and moaning.
I'm not the one who's saying that we must move to a high-wage, high-skilled economy, pretending that there won't be any low-skilled, low-wage jobs anymore. That's Bodger Johnson, that is. That'll be your hero, David. And nobody wants to do those boring, repetitive 1950s jobs anymore. Who wants to sit on a factory conveyor belt, just like picking out the broken biscuits? Nobody wants to do that. Just so mind-numbingly, repetitively boring. Of course there are going to be low-skilled jobs that low-skilled people will do, and they'll do it to the best of their ability. I mean, they'll take pride in your work, yeah. Be more zen. I totally get that, but that's not the glorious future that Boris Johnson is promising us. It's just another. He's just being mendacious. Liar! Exactly. Pretending that everyone's going to get a high-skilled job with an enormous amount of money piled all over them. Whereas that's just not true, because who is going to be doing all those jobs? We can't have robots doing them, because the robots can't do those jobs. They can't pick berries, for instance, because their stupid robot claws aren't gentle enough.
Affirmative.
So human beings are going to have to do that. But we Brits don't want to do that because it's dull and it hurts and it's you don't get paid very much and the hours are long and what are you going to do in the winter apart from anything else? And those jobs are usually in places where people aren't because they're at farms. If you go on a farm, then farms aren't usually in the middle of a housing estate. They're out in the middle of nowhere where people don't live. So how are you going to get people to go and do those jobs? See, all of this wonderful future that we're being promised does not exist. But people buy into it. It's amazing. I don't know how you think that it's going to come about. I mean, where's the training, apart from anything else? How are people going to be trained to go from screwing in a widget to being, I don't know, what kind of jobs he imagines that people will have? Electrical engineer. How are they going to do that? And I return to my point. Don't you think that people who could have the ability to do high-skilled jobs will be doing them already? I mean, people with vast brains and great ability aren't going to be working on factory, what do you call them? Conveyor belts. But those jobs don't really exist anymore because they're all done by robots.
Affirmative.
I just think it's just a fantasy that he's selling that can't possibly ever come to be. Not for the majority of the people in this country, because by definition, if everybody got a high pay, then the bread would be £10 a loaf. So your high pay wouldn't make no difference. It would be like Cuba. The doctor gets paid the same as a street cleaner. Please, that bloke who keeps going on about Cuba, don't call in. I've heard your call about 1,000 times already. Noted. Is he still there? Are you still there, David?
It's 10%.
Oh, my God, he's still talking. Something is 10%. I don't know what it is. We'll never know. So sad. I wonder if that last bloke minds if I say a few words. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
This text says, oh, please, call him back and ask him how long he was waiting.
Stop whining.
I've been on the phone waiting for 20 minutes. This text says, Dear Nick, some of us survived 17% interest rates in the 1980s. As a pensioner now who survived that time, bring on 17% interest rates. It would give me some of my money back. Well, unfortunately not. Because if interest rates skyrocket to 17%, then that means that inflation will be there or thereabouts. So you won't have any money at all. Oh, well, never mind. And Darryl says, earlier today I went for a walk on the beach and there must have been at least a dozen men using fishing rods. Who says the British fishing industry is dead? I saw somebody pull a fish out of the water off the harbour arm in Folkestone this week. I thought, and he kept it. I thought, what are you going to do with that then? I don't want fish that looks like fish on my plate. No thanks. I want fish that's square, breadcrumbed, and in a box with instructions on the outside. I don't want heads, I don't want tails, I don't want skin, and I certainly don't want bones.
Disgusting.
Awful. Hereford, hello, Andrea.
Hello, how are you?
Great, mate.
Good. Yeah, I wanted to talk about pumpkin picking.
Good.
So I moved to Hereford recently and I thought, right, I like to be busy. You know, I'm sure I can pick pumpkins. I want to do something. So I phoned them up and really hopeful. I really fancied that. And she said, no, we've got enough people. And then she accidentally dialed my number the other day and I was really hopeful. When I called her back, she went, oh, sorry, misdial, we've got enough people. So people are picking pumpkins.
Well, whoever said that they weren't?
Well, you know, people are saying there aren't people willing to pick things. I'm willing to pick things, but they don't want me.
All right.
And
now,
all I want to do is pick a pumpkin.
You want to pick a pumpkin or two.
I do.
Want to pick a pumpkin or two.
But what I'm saying is I'm no spring chicken.
Right,
you know,
see, this is what I was going to ask you. How old are you?
55. I can lift a
right,
pumpkin.
see, no.
No.
Yeah, no, they want teenagers and people in their 20s who can bend down in fields all day or pick pumpkins off the high branches of trees or wherever the hell a pumpkin grows from.
I can pick a pumpkin. I'm sure I can go up and down those fields in lines picking those pumpkins.
Yeah, no, they would no doubt have hired...
Well, are you telling me I'm too old?
Too old, yeah.
Pumpkin?
That is exactly what I'm saying. Ancient. Yeah, decrepit is what I'm saying. I hope that's not offensive. So have you got any pumpkins, Andrea, for the,
No.
'tis the season?
No.
No.
Well, I'm very close to the farm.
Right.
And I wanted to be helpful and earn some money.
Yeah. You could be helpful by not bothering them anymore, I think. It's probably would be a good idea. All right. Thanks a lot, Andrea. Cheers, my dear. 0345 6060 973. Yeah, no, farmer persons know what they're doing. They want to eager, starving to death Eastern Europeans to come over here and work for threepence halfpenny, yanking pumpkins out of the ground. I don't know. Do you dig pumpkins out of the ground? I've got no idea where they grow from. I went to a pumpkin farm one time, and they were just lying all over the earth, like somebody just scattered them there. Simon says, you mentioned the girl from Ipanema. Apparently it's the second most played song ever. Do you know what the most played song ever is, says Simon. Well, let me think about that. Is it that one? I'll bet it is. Didn't Michael Jackson own that song? I think he did. Get Michael Jackson on the phone, he can explain it to us. Clyde Bank. Hello, Vincent.
Hello.
Vincent.
Hi. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Vincent.
I'm calling because I disagree.
Vincent, could you speak more directly into the phone?
Can you hear me better now?
No.
Oh, very funny. I'm calling because I disagree that Brexit's the cause of the rise of food prices and the shortage of gas.
Yeah.
And if you like me, I'll tell you
well, I don't think... I've never said that it was the cause of the shortage of gas, or really the increase in food prices.
So what do
Although
you think?
it's a bit in there. I mean, Brexit is an element in everything that ails us, particularly if it does not ail any other country.
So what do you think is the cause of the rise of food prices and the shortage of gas then?
Well, the two are sort of connected, but not. The one does not lead to the other. The one does not cause the other 100%. They're complicated. I mean, the problem with gas is, as you know, and we don't need me to explain it, Vlad the Insaner is being mean to us. No! So there's that, and there's also the ruptured line that comes between France and us, and the stupid decision by this government to allow companies or one company in particular, to close our gas storage facility, the Rough Storage Facility. That's ROUGH.
There was also a couple of stupid decisions made in the United States recently too, wasn't there?
The United States?
Yeah. When Joe Biden did stop drilling on federal lands and he did stop the construction of pipelines that led to a fall in gas.
Well, we don't get gas from the US.
No, we don't, but gas from the US is sold globally. So if there's a shortage of gas coming from the United States, and therefore more gas needs to be pumped by OPEC or Russia or other places to meet that shortfall.
Right, but in America, but the supply of gas in America doesn't really affect us. I mean, where does America send gas to?
As the prices of gas went up globally.
Yeah.
What about the price of a barrel of oil as it went up?
Well, that doesn't really have anything to do with Brexit either.
Yeah, none of it has anything to do with Brexit, but you have brought up Brexit.
Yeah, but not in relation to gas prices or oil prices.
You did bring up the subject of Brexit.
Yeah, of course I did, but I didn't say that it was causing gas prices to go up. One of the reasons that gas prices have gone up, one of the reasons that we are more at risk than any other country, certainly in Europe, probably any other major economy in the world, is because we only have 5 days reserve supply. Germany has 3 months. The whole of Europe has enough gas in reserve to last it through winter. We don't even have enough gas in reserve to last it through the week.
But what has that got to do with Brexit?
Zero. I never said it had anything to do with Brexit.
Thank you. So it's got nothing to do with Brexit. Now, what about food? The rising cost of food.
Well,
so what I think is causing the rise in poultry prices and beef and etc. is the fact that you're seeing all across the Western world and the United States and Britain the culling of beef and poultry and pork.
No, there's no other country is culling beef and pork. No other country is putting pigs in a pile and setting fire to them?
The United States is killing large numbers of livestock all across that country.
I very much doubt it.
They are. And if you're doing that, what's that going to do with the supply of food? What's that going to do with the cost of food? It's going to cause the cost of food to increase.
Well, is this call just because you want me to... What's the purpose of this call?
Well, I think it's more nuanced than blaming the government or blaming Brexit. I think this is more of a global issue, and I think it's got more to do with meeting CO2 arguments. I think that's the reason why we're culling animals and why...
Wait a minute, we're culling animals because we're meeting CO2 arguments. What are you talking about? We're culling animals because we don't have the workers in abattoirs and butchers to carve them into food.
They're culling and see all these issues that you're experiencing in the United Kingdom now. They're experiencing the same issues right now in the United States. The exact same supply chain issues. In fact, inflation in the United States has went up 6% in the last 12 months. All these same issues they're experiencing, and they're not experiencing Brexit. So this is a more global issue.
Well, why aren't they experiencing it in Europe then?
They are experiencing a lot of these issues in Europe, just not as much as they don't have the same supply chain issues as we do in the United States does. And you could say the EU has a different system in that, like, in terms of gas...
The EU has a different system of killing animals than we do.
No, the EU, not of killing animals. The EU has a different system, and that's enabling them to, say, get gas from Russia.
No, you're changing the subject. Culling animals, because we don't have the workers who've left, and because we're yelling at them to get out of our country for 5 years, and just because they wanted to be mean to us, they said, "Oh, all right, then we'll go."
I disagree that it's got to do with that. I think
of course it is. They're saying, the farmers are saying that they don't have the abattoir workers and the butchers to turn the pigs into food. Farmers are saying that. That's why they're killing the animals.
Is there a rise in costs of food and other products across the board in the United Kingdom now, outside of poultry?
Again, you're changing the subject. You said that the reason that I'm kind of lost.
The reason that you're seeing the rise in prices of poultry and pork, etc., is due to farmers culling the livestock. That's the reason.
No, it isn't. The farmers are culling the... Well, okay, if that's the case, but why are the farmers culling the livestock? Because of Brexit? Yes,
it's not.
Because they don't have the workers to turn a pig into food. That's the reason.
Okay, what I would like you to do is check what's happening in North America.
I'm looking at it right now. And the American meat supply chain has been hit by the closure of slaughterhouses due to COVID-19 infection rates among workers. 30 to 40 plants have closed. So the reason that they're doing it in America is the same kind of reason that we're doing it here. They don't have the slaughterhouse capacity to turn pigs into food, so they're having to kill the animals because they can't send them to the slaughterhouses because the slaughterhouses are shut because Donald Trump screwed up the response to COVID. In this country, we can't send them to slaughterhouses because the people that used to work in those slaughterhouses have gone back to Europe. Brexit.
So your argument is that because people have left the United Kingdom due to Brexit,
yes,
we need to cull our animals, and you do agree that the culling of animals has contributed to the rise in food costs. You do agree with me there, don't you?
Well, I'm not sure that the one necessarily leads to the other because we haven't culled a lot of animals yet. I mean, the mass cull hasn't started. The farmers are saying that they're going to have to. They're trying to hold off as long as they can because why throw livestock away? They won't get any money for it.
So you really actually believe this is just coincidental, that this is happening through North America, the United Kingdom, and it's all separate? We've just got these wee issues with, what did you say it was in the United States?
The COVID-19 infection rates among workers have forced slaughterhouses to close down. They've closed 30 to 40 plants, which means that the highly consolidated US system of beef and pork slaughtering capacity has been cut by about 40%. That's the reason that they are killing animals in America, is because they can't send them to the slaughterhouses because the slaughterhouses have closed because of COVID. In this country, the slaughterhouses can't take animals because the workers that used to work in them have left to go back to Europe because of Brexit.
Do you know what I see slaughterhouses closing, right? I see animals getting culled, and this is going to cause food prices to go up. And then I see in Western countries, specifically mostly the United States...
You said the food prices had gone up because of this, and now they will go up in the future. Which is it?
They have gone up. They have gone up.
Yes, but it's not because of this. That hasn't gone through the system yet. We're going round in a tight circle here, Vincent. There aren't any similar problems in Germany and France and Belgium. They are having a problem in America because of their screwed up response to the COVID virus. But that's not... we had a screwed up response to the COVID virus, the worst health response in history. I think the committee report came out this week. But the reason that we are on the verge of killing thousands and thousands of animals in giant pyres is because the workers aren't there to turn them into food anymore. Because after 5 years of us yelling at them to get out of our country, they did. This email from Jake says, we are actually having some supply shortages in the States. The prices for toys and fresh meat are skyrocketing, but you can still get it. Our gas stations and everything else is normal otherwise. Normal for America. You know what's normal for America?
Oh, shut up!
Kevin tweets, what time did your tooth start hurting? About 2:30. Thanks for asking. Bournemouth. Hello, Chris.
Oh, hello, Nick. How you doing?
Good, thanks.
Yeah, I just thought I'd lighten the mood, Nick, and talk about technological unemployment, because everybody's moaning, they're not coming over here and taking our jobs and all of this stuff and all the rest of it. But as robotization and artificial intelligence takes over, there's going to be fewer and fewer jobs for people to do, and technological unemployment is going to be a real thing.
Huge.
And huge. You know, you could probably get, that guy who was waiting for 20 minutes, right? He could just get an AI chatbot, right, to just notify you when he got through.
Exactly. He? Yeah. He wants to outsource that waiting.
That's right. Yeah, it would save everybody a lot of hassle. Like, least of all you.
Yeah, and it would save him, complaining,
whinging, and whining and moaning
a lot.
Yeah. So that's all really. I've been listening to the show, and you got some interesting callers and all the rest of it. But it seems that everybody wants to have a bit of a scrap with you tonight, Nick. I don't know if it's a moon phase or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's probably the moon. Yeah.
Okay.
Stop staring at the moon, people. It's not doing you any good. All right. Thanks a lot, Chris. Thanks for the support. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
This says, since 2010, the Conservative government has reduced education expenditure by 8% in real terms. How does this lead to a high-skills economy? Am I missing something? Says that anonymous messenger. You're missing the part about this being a government that runs on gaslighting. There is no shortage of gas lighting. They will tell you that we are creating a high-skills economy while reducing the method by which people acquire high skills. Just like they defund the police and then complain that the police aren't doing a very good job anymore. Or they defund the courts and they say that the courts aren't handling enough cases. Or they defund your local council and then complain that your local council can't provide the same level of services that they used to when they had more money from central government. It's gaslighting. It's what they specialise in. In fact, it's pretty much all they've got. Jason says, we did hold all the cards, but sadly I think they're in a container ship they're in a container on a ship that couldn't land at Felixstowe. So the cards are now on their way to Eindhoven, wherever that is. Hillingdon, Jesus.
Hello, Nick. Greetings to you again. Have a good night and continue with your great show. I want to give some explanation about this argument that many politicians started to use on British media, and this one of the last callers also used several times. And I would like to explain what that caller wanted from you.
Which one?
Probably the previous two callers back.
Oh,
probably.
God, are you kidding? I can barely remember what I'm doing right now. Never mind about two callers back.
He wanted to say, stop criticizing our dear government because our problems are global.
Oh, that
so
one. Right.
you have no right to criticize for culling the pigs because it's a global problem.
Right. Don't criticize the dear leader.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Yes.
And here's my answer. If the problem is global, it doesn't mean you shouldn't do something about it and you shouldn't take the blame for it. It only says that you are as inept, as ineffective, as clueless about crucial problems as other governments.
Right.
And for example, back decades ago, there were very low literacy in most of the countries in the world. Mm-hmm. So politicians would say, well, we will not introduce, public schooling or NHS health service because lack of doctors, lack of nurses, lack of teachers, lack of schools, illiteracy is a global problem.
Right.
So we will do nothing about it.
Yeah.
It's stupid argument, and nobody is countering. Tory politicians saying, "Oh, it's a global problem."
Yeah,
problem in what countries?
Yeah,
Canada has this problem. Russia, China has this problem.
What some leaders do to alleviate the problem of the poorly educated is to say,
I love the poorly educated.
Yeah, it's just to bring them into the fold.
Yeah. So I think there is a dispute in public sphere, in the media, but government, Tories, and also some Labour politicians tend to use arguments that are stupid and easily should be countered, but nobody's countering them. Everyone accepts, well, indeed, this global problem. So what? So do something about it.
Yeah.
That Britain is the only country in the whole world that doesn't have this problem. Get down to work, create ideas, create solutions. That's what I wanted to say. There are other issues, but maybe I'll call some other day.
Okay, I'll look forward to that.
Yeah.
All right, thanks a lot, Jesus. If that is indeed your name. 0345 6060 973. He thinks that you should just get on with it, Bodge.
I think Donald Trump is clearly out of his mind.
Oh, damn it! That's not the one I wanted to play. Shall I try it again? He thinks you should get on with the job, Bodge.
I think he's betraying a quite stupefying ignorance.
Yeah. That's the target market. People who display a quite stupefying ignorance. Lou texts, Nick, don't have that tooth out. £2,000 for an implant to fill the gap.
What?
£2,000. He says, I'm saving up, but it might be cheaper to have a jaw reduction. Yeah. Well, £2,000 for an implant to fill the gap. You might as well get it taken out and have the implant put in. Because up to this point, I've spent £1,500 on one tooth.
Stop whining.
1,500 quid on a tooth. And I don't even know that it's going to remain in my head. You're supposed to take this temporary cap off and put the proper one on like last week or the week before. But I think a holiday got in the way. Not mine. And so I've been, sitting, suffering with it in silence.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
And now I think it's got a giant hole in it. I can stick my tongue in it. And the tooth as well, as a matter of fact. I'm doing it right now. Yeah. I think that the hole goes almost all the way down to my feet. It's massive. So I'm going to have to go and, complain volubly about that on Monday. Jason, I read that. And I read the one from Lou. And I read that one there. Wow, I am way ahead of schedule. Doing excellent work, yes?
No.
Let's have a call in Vancouver. Nick?
Yes, hi there.
Hello there.
I just wanted to talk to you. Was the Irish or Scottish caller that was going on about how terrible things are also in North America, the US, and presumably Canada?
That was the Scottish caller.
A Scottish caller, yes. I knew he was one of the Celtic races. Just to let everybody in Britain know, not only is things not bad here, we do two effectively Christmas dinners here within a month of each other.
Yeah.
We do Thanksgiving first of all, and then we do Christmas. And I just got a £20 turkey for Thanksgiving. You can tell that there are, there's less food in the chain because they weren't trying to sell the Thanksgiving turkeys off as loss leaders at 25p a pound, which is what they normally go at.
Wow.
You actually had to buy them at the regular price. So my £20 turkey cost me $40, which would be about 20 quid.
$40? Those poor little turkeys, though, they're all year long. They're just, scratching around the farmyard or the giant smelly sheds that they are forced to live in. And they think, well, this is great. Month after month goes by and absolutely nothing happens. Meanwhile, our friends, the chickens, they're getting executed in vast numbers. Every week they come and hoover them up. I mean, they literally hoover them up. They've got this giant sucking device, this huge tube that goes around the sheds. Have you ever seen it?
Yeah, we actually have a chicken culling place right in the middle of Vancouver.
Right. It's really alarming because
locally it's referred to as chicken Auschwitz.
Oh, well, that's very bad, bad form, bad taste.
It is.
But it's really bizarre. They use this tube and then they suck the chickens into it's like a giant vacuum cleaner for chickens. And the turkeys, meanwhile, they're going, thank God that we obviously aren't tasty to human beings. And then, the end of the year comes around and it's curtains for the turkeys.
Yes, it is. It is. I'd like to say to your pro-Brexit friends, my analogy for Brexit is it's like AIDS for an economy. No one in the world ever died of AIDS. But 30 million people died of other things because they had AIDS. And that's what Brexit is doing to the UK. Yeah, you can look at all of the problems and say, well, it's not just Brexit. This is true. But you've made everything 30% worse than it would have been otherwise.
Well, I think that you're describing it as as catching AIDS. I think it's made it 30% worse than it ordinarily was. So thanks for that. I describe it as a slow, not a puncture exactly, but a party balloon. Just the air escapes very, very gradually, so you don't really notice it so much. It's kind of like that.
Yes,
it's like a slowly deflating balloon. Anyway, all the best. Thanks a lot, Nick. Yeah, those poor turkeys. They and the ones that manage to survive for Thanksgiving in America, they think, phew, well, that could have been a lot worse. Just around the corner, they don't know it's coming. Poor little chucks. James emails, Boris could punch the Queen in the face and no one would care. Well, I think his cult fans wouldn't mind at all. They would make an excuse. Oh, well, what about, Jeremy Corbyn? Boris could punch the Queen in the face and no one would care. If we ran out of beer, people would stop voting Conservative. It's the only way.
Booze.
Maybe. That would bring it home to him. Definitely. Sheila texts, please don't say anything more about teeth. I was drilled, had mould taken. Mould? Oh, had a mould taken. I thought you meant they drilled into your teeth and found mould.
Disgusting.
Oh. No. they had a mould taken for a cap and was generally tortured for 45 minutes on Wednesday. It's bringing it back all too vividly, says Sheila. Hey, Sheila.
Stop whining.
It's the sound of the drill that just it sets my teeth on edge. I just can't stand it. Whee! Oh, why does it have to sound like that? Can't they make them silent? I didn't know I was going to get root canal treatment. Sorry, Sheila. I didn't know I was going to get root canal treatment because I went into the dentist. I said, just take it out. And he convinced me to have root canal treatment instead. Because I mean, root canal treatment is a synonym for the most painful thing that you can possibly imagine, right? So I thought, if I was going to get it, I'll bring some headphones. See, that's me using my thinking brain. I'll listen to some music. Or maybe, might be a better choice. I'll stick on some music so I can't hear that. The one that goes, it feels like they're using some sort of implement that they would fashion holes in the road with. You know, the big gnarly thing. Awful. So if I just remove one sense from my experience, it'll be much more livable. But he, at the point at which I thought he was going to yank it out, because that's what I told him to do, he convinced me otherwise. For extra money, by the way. I'm sure that had nothing to do with it. So I came unprepared, but it wasn't as bad as I thought. Apart from the injection part. Why do those needles have to be so long, by the way? I mean, he comes at you. I try not to look at what he's doing, but it's very difficult because my eyes are near my mouth. And they come at you with this needle that looks like it's so long that it looks like he's going to stick it in your jaw and it'll come out the back of your neck. It's not necessary. It's just them punishing us. But anyway, I've got a temporary cap on, which should have been replaced like last week, but for a holiday, not mine. And I think I've got a hole in it. I can stick my tongue all the way in the hole in my tooth. But as he's ripped the nerve out, I can't actually feel the pain, other than a throbbing. But you know me, I never complain.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
Forest Hill. Hello, Shirley.
Hello, Nick.
Shirley.
I'm sorry of problems you're having with your teeth, but can I give you a word of advice?
Stop complaining.
Keep smiling while you've still got teeth.
Yeah, well, you know me.
While you've still got teeth.
Yes. Yeah, take advantage of the fact that I've still got one tooth in my head, and I should, smile as much as possible. Yeah.
Okay. Good luck at the dentist.
Oh, thanks very much. Cheers to Sheila. There you are, you see, just being polite. Thanks, Sheila.
Thank you.
Appreciate the good wishes, if that is indeed what that was. Oh, have you finished? Is that it? Oh, yeah, she's gone. Just checking. Josh texts, after your show, I'm going to kick back and listen to Sgt. Pepper's, followed by The Wall, and then the Village Green Preservation Society. Ah, kinky. In an attempt to make sense of contemporary life, Josh says.
Rock and roll!
I don't think you'll find it there. Just a little pinprick. That'll keep you going for the show. Sean texts, happy early Christmas, mate. No toys in the shops, mate, so you get nothing. Ho, ho. Ho, ho. Edward texts, I had root canal treatment in September. It's better to keep the tooth than to lose it. Have faith you'll be fine. Faith. Well, like God's going to intervene. Yeah, that's right. God's going to intervene and fix my dental problem for me. All I have to do is have faith. That makes perfect sense. Well, it makes as much sense as anything else I've heard this year. Have faith. Oh, hey, did you hear about Matt Hancock? Oh, maybe I'll do this after the news. I haven't quite got time. I'll do it after the news. Can you wait?
Yes.
Of course. David says you are wrong. What? You are wrong about an upcoming rise in gas prices. He says 2 weeks before the 2016 EU referendum vote, Bodger Johnson wrote in The Sun that if the UK was to vote to leave, energy prices would fall. So I have put my heating on and I'm looking forward to a greatly reduced gas bill. It is amazing that every single thing that leavers said they didn't say it. They promised us. And they promised us with this sort of sneering, "Oh, don't you know anything?" sort of attitude. Don't you Remainers understand? Like Smug. Over and over again, he said, everything's going to be cheaper. We're going to have clothes, cheaper clothes and cheaper shoes. Because the poor pay more as a percentage of their earnings on shoes and clothes. So it's very important to me. Jacob Rees-Smug. You know, like he cares about the poor. Anybody buying that?
No.
Not really. Over and over again he said it, multiple times. Clothes are going to be cheaper, and shoes are going to be cheaper, and food is going to be cheaper.
You're better informed than I am. I don't know anything.
No, I do believe that that's true. And that is obviously not the case. All of the promises that they made. How about the £350 million a week? Have we managed to start spending that yet? God, that must be really piling up. I hope that we've got a bank account big enough. Can you imagine how much £350 million a week will buy, if it actually existed? There isn't a single thing that they promised us that's actually come true. Not one single thing. We were going to hold all the cards, and trade would be easy. It's going to be the easiest trade deal in history. The European Union will become begging for our favours because the German car industry would force them to do it. Do you remember that one? That golden nugget? That France would be... The very idea that there will be problems with trade is ridiculous, because Bodger told us that France will want to sell us their champagne and cheese. You remember that one? There isn't a single thing that any of them promised us that's actually come true. Not one. There are no benefits from leaving the European Union. None at all. So you have to wonder why we've left, why they were so keen to get us out. And unless you can tell me otherwise, it looks very much like we've been had. That people, just as with the EU referendum vote itself, certain individuals bet against this country in order to make a short-term killing. RJ texts, Nick, I have never watched The Sopranos.
What?
You're joking. How can you have never watched The Sopranos? It's like 20 years old. It's weird, 20 years old, and still nobody has ever produced a television programme to touch it. Okay, The Wire is very good, but it's not as good. And and so it goes Sopranos, The Wire, and then everything else. There's a big gap in your life there, RJ. Anyway, he or she or it explains, I've never watched The Sopranos. I've actually watched Boston Legal instead, as it was out at the same time. I'm a big James Spader fan, huge. I don't think anybody's ever said that. You're a big James Spader fan? Okay, then. Says, the thing is, I'm 61 years old. Have I got enough years left to binge watch a whole box set of The Sopranos? Why, yes, you do, RJ. Because you'll find you'll be watching 2 or 3 a night. You'll get through them in about a month. Maybe 2. Watch it and thank me later. No, wait. I've changed my mind. You can thank me now.
Thank you.
This says, maybe someone in the Conservative Party can outsource the truck driver facilities to a pub owner. Preferably over a WhatsApp or private email. Speaking of which, Matt Hancock. Have you heard about this? The former UK Health Secretary. Can you believe that he used to be the former UK Health Secretary?
No.
It's amazing. It's almost as though we are being run by a cavalcade of clowns. Who could have predicted that voting for a Joker would bring us a circus?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
So Matt Hancock, the former UK Health Secretary, will no longer become a special envoy for the United Nations after the job offer was withdrawn. Isn't that sad? Hancock said on Tuesday that he was honoured to be working with the UN's Economic Commission for Africa to help the continent recover from the pandemic. However, campaigners objected to the appointment because of his record in government during the coronavirus crisis. And just yesterday, the UN's official spokesmodel said that the appointment would not be taken forward because the African continent had suffered enough. The UN's Economic Commission for Africa had lavished praise on Hancock's abilities. All over them they'd lavished. They said they asked him to take on the role because of his quotes. Now, you might want to sit down and grip onto something firm. Steady yourself. They said that they had asked him to take on the role because of his, quotes, economic policy expertise, experience operating financial markets at the Bank of England, and in-depth understanding of government through his various ministerial cabinet roles. Hey, maybe they were really drunk at the time.
Booze.
However, non-government organisations and activists objected to the appointment, which was announced on the same day that MPs published a report saying thousands of people had died because this government had failed to lock down early enough while Matt Hans Hancock was Health Secretary. It actually said that Britain's early handling of the coronavirus pandemic was one of the worst public health failures in the history of this country. Global Justice Now said in a tweet, Matt Hancock blocked international efforts to allow low and middle-income countries to produce their own COVID-19 vaccines. Did he? Wow. They said leading to millions of global South deaths, as in the south of the equator, I imagine. They said the audacity of this man claiming to help African nations to promote sustainable development is sickening. Hancock said the UN had written to him to explain that a technicality in its rules meant that it could not offer him a special representative role as planned. That technicality, by the way, is that they only want people to do that job who are brighter than a Cumberland sausage. You know, someone with more brains than a rock'em sock'em robot.
Correct.
So now Hans Hancock has tried to spin this. Well, it turns out he is actually too much in demand. If the Grope Master General said, the UN has written to me to explain that a technical UN rule has subsequently come to light, which states that sitting members of Parliament cannot also be UN special representatives. Unfortunately for him, that excuse holds about as much water as a tea strainer, because Gordon Brown was appointed as a UN Special Envoy on Education by the former Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon in 2012, 2 years before Gordon Brown stood down as an MP. You remember Gordon Brown, don't you? Yes, that's him. So, yes. Ta-ta, Matt Hancock.
Bye-bye.
We won't miss you. And neither will Africa. I think they swerved a bullet there. Tooting. Hello, Jan.
Oh, yes. Hi, Nick. Hi.
Jan.
Sorry to hear about your tooth, but thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you for being on my show.
Yes. Listen, I came across an item of news today. Well, it was in the week, but I've just read it today, and it really has thrown me a bit because I was trying to make sense of it, and now I've made sense of it. I thought I'll ring you because you're always saying about Brexit, but I'm coming back to this old is that, you know, it's so deep rooted in the psyche of the nation. That's why why Boris Johnson has this sort of aura for this. It's given to him by these old it's classical, it's part of classical education, but Boadicea was a real person. You know, it's a thing, the song we got about Boadicea, the Britons will never be under anyone, never be slaves.
Jan?
Yes?
What are you talking about?
No, I'm talking about Brexit. Why?
Well, what news item came out this week that perplexed you?
It's linked to education as well.
What is?
Because this thing about... you're saying and this idea about classics being fairy tales, but the classics about Boadicea. I can't believe it and it's linked as well to this thing about levelling up. It's not like the old meritocracy, isn't it? It's not a new spin on the old meritocracy, because there's a big movement going on, and it's about getting children very young, and for this levelling up to be rooted, to have a education, a classical education.
Who says that children should have a classical education? Why would they want to waste their time learning Greek fairy tales?
Yeah, but it used to be the living religion, wasn't it, for them? It's fairy tales to us now, but they used to live that. You know, they used to have their, whatever, those gods.
Yeah, they used to think that the moon was dragged across the sky by a winged chariot, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but listen, Boadicea was real. So what's happened? I couldn't believe what I was reading.
But what did you read? Tell us what it is that you read that discombobulated you so.
I thought I had to share it with you, because it just goes to show these classics aren't dead. They're very much alive. And
No, they're not. Real. They are dead, just like the Latin language is dead. D-E-D, dead.
But isn't it underpinned? They won't take people onto legal to study law if they don't sometimes have Latin.
What?
Because they need it, and for some of those professions, I'm just saying some of them won't. But this is it. Look, there's a charity.
Yeah.
They're aiming at young children, primary school children, to learn to be inducted into classics, the ancient world.
Okay, just run away, kids. Just run fast away.
Yeah, and they've even gone so far. This charity that wants classics for all, like Eton wants to, this levelling up, teach
classics for all.
Get the mindset of.
No, teach them coding, teach them mechanical engineering, teach them physics and chemistry, and something that might actually be useful in the world instead of just a bunch of old silly nonsense about gods and angels.
But this is amazing, because this is like I couldn't believe it. They're running a court. A Supreme Court to decide whether Boadicea from 2,000 years ago was a terrorist. Was a terrorist.
Right.
Or someone who was fighting for the freedom of the English, because
who is doing this?
This charity.
Okay, well, I've got no idea who it is. It's not a bunch of Tory backbenchers, is it?
It probably is. It's classic.
Yeah, probably is.
Charity. Yeah. And they've had trials. They've done previous trials featuring Socrates.
Do they call themselves the Latin Research Group by any chance?
The classics for all, and they're a charity, but they're obviously sort of probably old Etonians and things.
Yeah.
That maybe Boris is behind it. But
don't waste your time, kids. Learn something that might actually be useful in the world and will propel you into one of those fantasy high-skill, high-wage jobs that we're all going to be doing soon.
Yeah, but you see, they say she wasn't a terrorist. They came to after going through a mock trial.
Yeah.
I don't know who this was done in front of, but it's actually in the paper that they do these mock trials.
Well, I'll go to the foot of our stairs, Jan. Our courts are backed up like years worth of actual real life, honest to goodness, true crimes to litigate, and they're trying Boadicea. Please.
Yeah, to see. It's a bit of a joke. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, but it is a bit of a joke. Yeah.
But it's underpinning. This levelling up thing is being underpinned by this elitist thing. Like so they have a mindset modelled from young primary age school to as primary age kids around classics that it's so those who are going to be leaders or in leadership positions will have this. I don't know if you ever said this when you were a kid to other children, because we did. Well, in my childhood, we used to have this thing, which is from an old feudal thing, like, I'm king of the castle. You tease the kids. Yeah. I'm king of the castle, and you're the dirty rascal. Did you ever say that as a kid?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I was trying to...
No.
history of that. But we used to...
But what's that going to do with anything?
Well, this idea, the levelling up is underpinned by this sort of elitism. It's not like the
levelling up is just it's just a phrase. I don't believe that they have any intention of doing anything of the sort. Levelling up. I mean, how long? If the Conservative Party was actually interested in levelling up, how come they haven't done anything? They've been in power for 11 years.
But you see, but you say like no one will want to be doing these lower jobs because everyone will be they want to level everyone up.
Right.
But
if in some fantasy future everybody is in this country is a high-skilled, high-wage individual, who's going to be doing all of the millions of jobs that are required that have low skill and low pay that keep the country going?
Well, that's why I don't trust it. I just think that this levelling up thing is a thing to get, like the old meritocracy, to open up opportunities. Like a lot of these people, these classics for all, they're working in schools that most of the children that they're teaching are on free school meals. They're so poor.
So they'll be able to have a feast of Latin participles at Christmas. You won't have anything to eat, but you'll be able to talk to each other. You'll be able to warm yourselves by a tale of Prometheus. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, Jan, thanks for the bad news. This text says, "Hi Nick, should tell you that frozen HP sauce is my favourite." This in reference to the story a while ago about supermarkets filling empty shelves with just anything that they had to hand. So they're putting HP sauce in chiller cabinets where they would have frozen goods. Now it's just so it doesn't look so empty. They're filling it with HP sauce. Hey, you can use it like an ice lolly. Andy says, the Pogues have announced that Fairy Tale of New York will not be available this Christmas, but the listeners will be able to buy Fairy Tale of New Malden. Is that supposed to be a joke, Andy? A listener with material.
Oh, no.
Well, you won't be able to hear the Rolling Stones play Brown Sugar anymore, apparently. Not that they've been cancelled, but they just don't want to play it anymore. I always thought that Brown Sugar was about heroin, and I never listened to lyrics. I absorb them by osmosis, so I find I can sing along, but I'm not really paying attention to what I'm singing. Lyrics are not really. Usually in popular music, lyrics aren't a big thing. I mean, with some artists, they don't actually mean anything at all, like David Bowie's songs, for instance. It's just nonsense. But I can sing along with pretty much all of them. I'm just not really paying attention to what it is I'm singing. I honestly thought that Brown Sugar was about heroin. Andy texts. Oh, no, I've read that. Trev says, my local Tesco's full of suntan lotion. Well, that's ridiculous. Let's have Putney. Tahira.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
So I just wanted to say, but you were talking just recently about teaching students Greek mythology.
Yeah.
I think I agree with that bit that, I understand that you were saying that, teaching them Greek stories and things may not be as relevant, but do you not think it is important to teach them the meaning between words? So, for example, if children are taught, for example, that Zeus's, father was called Kronos, that's where the word chronology comes from, time.
I can't express in words how totally unimportant that is. I mean, kids don't communicate with words anymore. They're communicating with emojis. They're sending little cartoons to each other as a new form of language. Who cares where chronology came from?
They are, but when they are reading, when they are doing communication with anything, for example, when they're reading books, because I'm not really old, so when I'm reading books, whenever I'm reading words, if I've learned the meaning behind the word, it is easy to understand what is happening because you don't need to actually open a dictionary anymore because you would understand the root meaning of the word. For example, biography or auto, you would know. So
you're saying that in order to save time by opening a dictionary, you would spend years learning Greek mythology?
No, I am saying that it is something that if you're learning it on the side or if you are taught it in school, then you'll understand the word, it's not
doesn't
gonna work
make
for
any
everybody.
difference. It's completely irrelevant. I mean, most of our words are from French, so everybody should learn French. Actually, it'd be a good idea for people to learn French.
I mean, I definitely support different languages being learned, but I also support your view that, students should be learning coding and life skills instead of just, because we are never taught banking or anything in schools. They're taught about, I don't know, these biology and all of these things, which are important, but, real life skills are much more important than
Correct, yes. But parents are supposed to take up the slack there and teach their kids, but nobody taught the parents about balancing your finances or any of this other or standing up straight and looking people in the eye and shaking their hand and saying, how do you do? Which is what you learn at the top public schools and apparently not much else. But that will send you much further in life than learning about some nonsense Greek fairy tale.
I guess every school has their own curriculum. But I do understand your point of view as well.
Okay, thanks, Tahira. There you are, you see. Very polite.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Total waste of time. I mean, you can only cram so much information into a child's head. They've only got so many hours in the day that they have the ability to learn. Let's teach them something that's actually useful, not some utter, total and complete waste of time that is taught to people that know that they don't have to actually learn anything to get on in life because they were born to millionaire parents who have sent them to one of the top schools where they can just lounge around and learn things that really only give them the ability to be superior. Oh, Greek gods. And Bodger just keeps coming out with this stuff. It just keeps reminding us all the time, I went to Eton. God, it's sickening. They all do. They all seem to spend most of their time desperately reminding us where they went to school. I mean, one day he'll show up to work in shorts. He's still got the same haircut as he used to when he went to school. That act is getting really old. Keith tweets, Nick, Coldplay tour will reduce CO2, so concerts free with all those devices using electricity to book tickets! ! Does that make sense?
No.
Shall I read it again?
No.
Coldplay tour will reduce CO2, so concerts free with all those devices using electricity to book tickets. Okay. Maybe that's translated from ancient Greek. I've got no idea. Josh texts, I hope Sir Keir is aware that Special K is street slang for ketamine. I'm on about 3 pints of Special K a day now, man, but I can handle it. Just feeling a bit woozy at the moment, that's all. Let's have Leytonstone. Mike.
Hey, hi, Nick.
Mike.
We were slaves once.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I think so anyway, because the Normans came and they dispossessed us completely, and we became second-class citizens, and they're still in power. It's like Putin and his gang from the gym.
How embarrassing to be ruled by a bloke called Norman. I mean, that is just toe-curlingly embarrassing, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes. Well, of course.
I mean, no offence to people who are called Norman, but,
Well, anyway, we were slaves, and we don't seem to acknowledge the fact that we have been slaves. And the people who came here from the Normans are actually the Vikings who took over Normandy, so they weren't even French. Those guys didn't speak English for 300 years. And English was, or Saxon, Middle English, whatever you want to call it, was a very considered complete chat language. And no one spoke it who was in power. And they built big castles and oppressed us and took all our stuff away. And
but apart from that...
We were nice Saxons. We were having a nice time as Saxons with fairly nice little kings.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just think that people need to remember that, because those guys are still there. They're still running us. And,
Norman?
They built Eton. They were here for 300 years. Boy, they're still here, speaking French. And Magna Carta, which is not about freedom. It was about the fact that barons didn't want to put up money for a war in France that the king was not going to share the spoils in. And so I think people should get a bit of more of a grip on what our past was so we can evaluate ourselves and not consider ourselves to be as special as the Normans thought that they were, because they didn't expect to win the battle. They waited 3 months for the sea to calm down, and then they just chose the day when Harold happened to be up in the north and had to rush down. Otherwise, they wouldn't have really won. And the fact they did win, they thought it was an act of God, like the Taliban thought when they beat the Russians because the Americans held to help them out.
Right, Mike,
So that's why we're considered special.
Yeah, is any of this going to be on the test? Because my mind is drifting away. I'm staring out the window, just dreaming of double geography. The history is giving me boring. Oh my God, I couldn't be more out of tune with what it is you're saying. I have no idea. I stopped listening about 3 hours ago. But this is an educational show, isn't it?
No.
Not really, no. But thanks for that, Mike. Good effort. Declan emails, I think the Brexit negotiators should be careful what they wish for. Dodgy sausages could get into Europe, but the UK could be flooded with Romanian horse meat. It works both ways, he says. I love the taste of Romanian horse meat in the morning. Tastes like Dobbin. Jackie texts, Nick, while Johnson and his cabinet are busy setting the country on fire, Labour are busy arguing about who is getting the hose. How many open goals does the Starmer need? I don't know. I just have got no idea. It might not actually matter who's the leader of the Labour Party, because it's not a majority, but it's just enough are still fighting Brexit, and will continue to do so. That's why that Lord Frost is never going to conclude a deal on Brexit. I mean, they've done that already. They said this is a great deal. This is a fantastic deal. This is the best deal that anybody ever saw in our lives. Sign this deal, and they all signed it. And they said, actually, you know what? We don't like this deal. This is the worst deal that anybody has ever negotiated. Who's the idiot that negotiated this deal? Said Lord Frost. The plan is not to agree with the European Union. The plan is to continually to pick fights with the European Union. And particularly France, of course, and Germany for good measure. And if I had the Dam Busters on this computer, I'd be playing it right now. That's not the idea. The idea is not to agree. It's not to come to a concord with them. It's to continually fight with them so that they will always be able to say, oh, well, it's not Brexit. It's the European Union being mean to us. Mean to us! So we will continually be fighting Brexit. Fighting for the purity of Brexit forever. Or at least until such time as they don't need an excuse anymore. Nick tweets, perhaps after visiting the Kellogg's factory, Starmer should have given himself the nickname Frosty, as he certainly isn't warming to the electorate or the tens of thousands of ex-members who left the Labour Party in recent months. Well, he's not warming to the electorate. The electorate is not warming to him, certainly. But like I said, I don't think that it actually matters who's the leader of the Labour Party. Because it's not a two-party state anymore. It's not the Conservatives versus Labour. It's Brexitists versus Remainers. Or Ramonas.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
It's not Labour versus Tory anymore. It's people who believe in the glorious future of Brexit and those that can see what's actually happening. And it's not a majority by any stretch of the imagination, but it's just enough. It's about, 43% of the population that still believe, that still have some sort of hope that all of those lies will come true, all of that, our glorious, fantastical future will actually come to pass. Those people. And they can't ever stray from the dear leader, because if they don't believe anything that he does or says, then that will mean that they suffer a loss of hope. that their lives will actually get better as advertised, as promised. But those promises are not true. Liar! They are lies. I wonder how long it'll take for the not the penny to drop, really, but to allow yourself to admit that you've been had. Maybe never. But it's not Tory Labour anymore. It is and will continue to be Brexit versus Remain. So I'm not sure that it actually matters who's in charge of the Labour Party. It just doesn't really matter anymore. As long as Boris is our Brexit leader, then he will continue to get the support of everybody that voted. I don't think any of the people that voted have changed their minds, not one iota. Despite the mounting evidence that nothing that was promised is going to come to pass, that it was all lies. Name one positive thing that's happened. One single one. I mean, I've done this on this show, I think it was last week or the week before, and I couldn't get one single person to give me anything. Not one single thing. Nothing. One promise that's come true. Just one. Ange tweets, the most boring job I ever had was putting the holes in the tops of pies in a food factory when I was a student. What, to let the steam come out? A robot could do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Why did I play that? Not absolutely. George Bush is not a robot. Ben tweets, at the risk of being dull, imagine these, inverted commas, jobs, which are low skill, couldn't be mandated to a person more than 3 days per week. At least then you could have two jobs, more social and more fun. Two boring jobs. Why would anybody want to do that? No fun there at all. Just two jobs that you don't want to get up and go to work doing. That makes no sense. Orpington, hello, Ray.
Hi, Nick. Talking of Brexit, are you aware of the historico-political tightrope you're walking with Boadicea? Boadicea is a name as emotionally charged as Londonderry. It changes according to your political stance.
Oh, my God. Where's my stance?
Well, if you're pro-European Union, it's Boadicea, because that's what the Romans called her. They Latinised her. If you're a frothing-at-the-mouth English nationalist and Brexiteer, it's a Boudica.
Right.
Yeah. You went to the dentist, I gather.
It's Boadicea. I mean, it's like... well,
she would have called herself Boudica. That's what she was known as by her people,
What's the planet that begins with U?
Well, now we're told it's Uranus, because
No.
when I was at school, it was the... it was a standard joke with the old geography master, Dodo, we called him, and we would...
Dodo? Well, that's... See me after school.
And we were always asking him how big is Uranus, and he always fell for it, just as like the London Underground and a certain part of his anatomy. We said, pretend he's talking about that. And can you tell us about the London Underground? It's the largest and the oldest in the world. I remember that. But I was going to say, with a dentist, no dentist ever wants to take a tooth out because they lose a 32nd part of their potential future income from you, because it goes with it.
Exactly. It's all about the money, honey.
But you're unfair to Matt Hancock. I mean, the clause in the European Union's Codex Legalorum actually states no person or persons shall represent the EU while being a sitting member of a national parliament unless their given name at birth was Gordon. Codicil 3, changing one's moniker by deed poll will not sashay around this rule. But he is, I think, and this is serious, is he responsible for a brilliant NHS ruse I encountered a couple of weeks ago? I received a copy of a hospital letter to my designated doctor. I've had him for years. I've no idea what he looks like or sounds like. We've never met in the flesh or electronically. I just get assistance. But it was telling him that I'd had a thorough eye examination on the previous day. There was a slight bleed into the eye, but there was nothing to worry about, and I will be re-examined in 3 months. Well, as I'd been looking around the shops at West Wickham on the previous day, I was incensed. I thought, what's going on here? You try and phone up and say, I have had no eye examination examination for 4 months. And you're pushed from pillar to post. In the end, I went to the hospital that alleged I'd had the examination. Oh, no, we only do kids. So they shunted me to another hospital. Well, I went to another hospital, and the nurse was after. She said, well, we don't expect the public to understand these letters. The doctor will understand it. It was done virtually. I said, no, it wasn't done virtually. I don't have a computer. I would know if somebody was sticking a machine into my eye. And she said, oh, no, you don't have to be there. The computer, I'm not joking, this is serious. She said, the computer looked at the film that was taken 4 months ago and has decided there is no deterioration and it will do the same thing in 3 months' time. So according to my records, I was examined like 2 weeks ago by a computer simply looking at the photographs taken 4 months previously.
Right.
And that is now an official examination. So in 3 months' time, if I'm dead in 10 years' time, the computer might still say my vision is perfect.
Yes, you are in great health, despite the fact that you are 6 foot underground, because we were checking the records from 10 years ago. Yeah, and that proves it. Yeah, well, it makes as much sense as anything else I've heard this week. Thanks a lot, Ray. I went to have my eyes checked. They said, we'll do it while you wait. Del says, my local abattoir, ABORTOIS. My local abattoir in Dagenham is taking on apprentices. I think Christmas is going to be saved. Merry Christmas, says Del. Scott says, I'm a cabbie. I'm on universal credit and I earn hardly any money. Am I going to work in the fields for a high wage? No. Quite content, thanks all the same, says Scott. And Declan emails, I used to work at the Virgin Megastore and the most recorded track ever is Ave Maria. But he didn't say record. This is from a message from quite some time ago. He didn't say recorded. He said played. I believe the most played song ever must be. I hear it at least once a year. Sherborne. Kevin.
Hello, how you doing?
Good, thanks.
Good. I'm a bit disappointed with you, you know.
Oh, no. What have I done now?
Yeah. Well, you didn't acknowledge the fact that the French have been trying to have a go at us since 1066.
Yeah, blooming French.
French, that's right, isn't it? You know, like, and now we've got the chance to have a go back, finally, and that's what we're doing.
Are we?
Well,
really?
That's what they tell us to do.
Right.
No, seriously. I mean, like, and that's what it's all about, you know, like, because Boris is a classical scholar, so he understands history. And so do the rest of them.
Well, the only thing that anybody has ever learned from history is that nobody ever learns anything from history.
Well, I would concur with that completely. Don't worry about that. But also, I was going to say that it's strange to me that there's a lot of people up north, as it were, you know, north of Watford.
Yeah.
The blue wave or whatever they're called now, that are moaning about the Tory government. And it seems to me that these people actually sort of voted in.
Yes.
And I can't help thinking that maybe they're getting what they deserve, you know?
Well, yes, the Germans have a word for it. It's Schadenfreude. Yeah, the people that voted for the government and that voted for Brexit are the ones that are being inconvenienced by it the most. Yes.
Well, I mean, more than Schadenfreude, you might call it Scheisenfrau. You know, it's even more sort of worse than you could imagine, isn't it? Really.
Right.
And also, I wanted to say,
if I knew what you just said, I'd probably be very offended. Don't repeat it.
No, I won't. Right. Okay, I won't. What I would like to say though is that do you think that this laboratory that made all the mistakes, I think it's possible that was part of this idea of community throwing the I can't remember what they called it.
What, payback? Community payback? No.
No. About everyone catching the disease so that sooner or later everybody would be dead.
Oh God, what's it called? It's almost like COVID doesn't exist anymore. We're pretending that's over. It's herd immunity.
That's right. Well, Yeah, so I reckon that's what happened there, is that they carefully made sure that 40,000 people went off carrying it so that we'd get a bit of herd immunity.
Yeah.
And what they didn't work out was that, because what I've read, or what I've seen actually, is that 250 people died unnecessarily because of that.
Well, that I hadn't actually read that number. That may or may not be true. I don't really know, but it's not very good, and we'll add it to the pile of not very good in our response to the invisible menace. Who could have predicted that voting for a clown would have got us this circus?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Charlie Caroli might have.
Yeah. All right, thanks a lot, Kevin. Good work. Cheers, mate. Ta-da. 0345 6060 973. This text says that Prince Charles thinks that Bodger is doing his best to save Christmas. Kwesi said that if you're cold, then put on another jumper. Did he? What does Melania think? Says this anonymous texter. You know, like they can just play me like I'm a piano. What does Melania think?
I don't care.
She doesn't care. Michael says, why not get those thousands of qualified butchers all around the country fiddling in their shops to work in abattoirs while the emergency lasts? I don't think butchers are just fiddling about, are they? I mean, butchers are still working, surely. I mean, butchers have still got meat, haven't they? Well, you'd think that eventually, if people can't get them through the abattoir, then the butchers' jobs will actually dry up. I don't know whether you have to be differently skilled to work in an abattoir as opposed to working in a butcher's. I don't know. I would assume so. I've got no idea what it is to be a butcher. I prefer not to think about it, thanks very much. I like my meat to come in packets with a picture of happy cows on the outside. No animal was hurt in the making of this product. I want a picture of a photogenic farmer person on the front, smiling. I do not want to see somebody strangling chickens. That's a good point, though. I mean, once abattoirs don't have any meat coming through them, because all of the farmers are, burning their livestock. It's not a barbecue. It might smell like that, but it's not actually a barbecue. Put your paper plate away. It's not for you. Then they won't be going through abattoirs, presumably, and because they ain't got the staff because of Brexit. And so butchers won't have anything to put on the slab. So maybe but then if the butchers were all working in abattoirs, then they wouldn't be able to work in the butchers. So it doesn't really solve many problems there, does it? Unless we want butchers to work 24 hours a day. This says, on the idea, maybe they could also go help out the NHS. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? This says, on the idea that robots will do the job, I work in a restaurant, and many of our guests hate the idea of scan to order. So how skilled jobs work? What? There will always be low-skilled jobs because the public demands it. Well, there will always be low-paid jobs because the public demands it, because if there's absolutely one thing that we totally and definitely know is that we are price-sensitive. As in, we absolutely refuse to pay a penny more for any goods, regardless of whether it means that we'll keep an industry going in this country, as opposed to importing a lower quality product from somewhere else. We don't mind if jobs disappear from here to go abroad. We just don't want people from abroad to come here and do the jobs to keep our local industry going. Isn't that weird? It's now like a badge of patriotism to want people. Or it's back up. Shall I back up?
No.
Yeah, it's a badge of patriotism now to refuse people to come here so that British companies can keep working. What we actually are wanting, not wanting, it's not the right word, that's why I was stumbling. What we're actually moving towards is for people not to come here and keep British industry going. It's for British industry to go abroad. And then, because we can't see foreigners here doing jobs that we don't want to do, then it's almost as though it's not happening. I mean, like the clothes industry, for instance. We don't make clothes, really, in this country. Not like we used to. It's all made in China. Now, if Chinese people had come here by the million and were making clothes in British factories, then we would not like that. There would be protests. Oh, they've come over and they're taking our jobs. But there are no protests because those jobs don't exist here anymore. They've gone to China. Those same people are doing those jobs. It's just that they're not doing them here. And now, instead of paying local taxes and all the people that work in those factories paying taxes and, et cetera and so on, now none of that money is here. We are, in fact, spending money abroad to get the same products that we used to make here from somewhere else. So it's weird that we don't mind if jobs go to other countries. We mind that other countries send their people to work here. Very odd. Because out of sight, out of mind. It's almost like it's not happening. But it is. It's happening. Entire industries have gone abroad. I mean, we make practically nothing in this country anymore, but for some cars for Japan and German and French companies. But, as for the things that we used to make here a lot, all of those jobs ain't here no more. We complain if people come here to make our economy tick over. That we don't like. But we don't mind if our economy just dies by dint of those very same jobs going abroad. It's the same people doing the jobs, it's just they ain't doing them here. I think the underlining point of it all is we just don't like foreigners. To the point that we will kick them out because they came over here and did jobs that it turns out we didn't want to do anyway. And now we're begging them to come back and do them. And no surprise that they are not lining up to come back and help us. Phil tweets, did you see William Shatner get blasted into space the other day? Couldn't we do that with Bodger and just add a bit more fuel so he doesn't drop back down? How many tweets have I not got around to? Oh my God, there's about a mile of them. I'm very bad at my job. I'll pick one at random and see if it's any good to end on. Paul says, so sounds like Matt Hancock was a bit premature in celebrating his new job. Yeah, it's so sad. Couldn't have happened to a nicer man.